Hello and welcome to the Field Engineer channel. Thank you, dear viewers and listeners, for your continued interest and support. Please subscribe to follow our latest content and hit the like button if you enjoyed this discussion. Our talk today will be with Caroline Gregory, who is the Community Manager at the Field Engineer. Caroline is also an intercultural consultant and coach. She started her career in accounting, then moved to consulting in training and in recruiting. She now runs her own company, Intercultural Success Limited. Welcome, Caroline. We're very happy to have the opportunity to speak with you today.
Thank you, Guy. Thank you. And hello, Guy, and hello, Charlie. It's great to be here. I've watched all of your interviews and enjoyed them. And so I feel very honoured to now be in the hot seat, if that's an okay term to use.
Thank you, Caroline. I'll just start with a question about the evolution of your career and studies. You have a degree in accounting and started your career in that field, which later evolved and flourished. Tell us about that and how one led to another.
Okay. Well, to be honest, what I loved, one of my great loves was Latin, but there were not many careers for somebody who'd specialised in Latin. I don't think there are any now. I think it's exactly the same. I also loved English literature, but I ended up doing accountancy and computer science because it seemed more useful for the job market. Although, to be honest with both of you, it was a decision I made at 18, and like most decisions made at 18, I'm not sure how much real thought went into it, to be honest. But I don't regret it at all, because I think any move you make in a career then leads to other things. And if you had a different start, maybe you wouldn't have had the opportunities that you do have. So
That's very true.
So I worked in Chicago in accountancy and became involved in training. So when I came back to London, that was very much in my mind. And I worked for a company looking at business English, which then moved into the intercultural training, which is sometimes, it used to be called cross-cultural training, much more now intercultural training. So that's how it progressed, and there is a link there, even if it doesn't seem very obvious.
Okay, interesting. And you know, I'm happy that it led you here and it led you to the field engineering community. We appreciate you very much. You're doing great things at the community and supporting us and supporting this channel. We appreciate that very much.
Oh, thank you, Guy. Well, it's all a pleasure. I meet the field engineers I meet. What a great group of people. Friendly, helpful, interesting.
Indeed, and we can say the same, right, Charlie?
Absolutely, Carol. I was going to say, you very much feel like the glue that holds the community together.
I don't know if I've ever been described as glue, but I will take that as a compliment.
Going back to multiculturalism, what inspires you in that field and makes your work fulfilling for you?
Oh, well, I think it's because I am very interested in different cultures, but also I've seen so many examples of where in business things have gone wrong, there hasn't been communication, projects have failed, people have left companies, people have made complaints. And at the bottom of all of it, it's probably a cultural misunderstanding, which isn't very big, but that has existed. Therefore, communication has not been good, there's not been clarity, and no relationship has formed. Because, of course, once you know somebody well, once you understand them, you forgive them. So if in a meeting one day they say something which you perceive as a bit strange or a bit abrupt, perhaps, because you know them, you make allowances, you forgive. Whereas if you don't have that, instantly there's you're taking it personally. So have I explained that clearly? Because it's such a huge subject.
Yes.
It's
Yes, no, definitely. And, I live in a multicultural country, Canada.
Mm.
And just the other day, I was having dinner with an ex-colleague of mine who is from another country from Europe. And he was telling me how sometimes he tries to crack a joke with his manager and the director, and everyone comes from a different country, and how he is misunderstood. So it's like he's having to step back and maybe become less outspoken just so he's not misunderstood. And it hurts the relationship within a team, within an organization, for sure.
No, that's a good point. And for your friend, if making a joke and using a bit of humor has been how he establishes relationships and makes meetings go smoothly, suddenly he doesn't have one of his tools. He needs to find something else.
Right. Totally agree. How is that contributing to your work within the field engineer community? How do you see it maybe even making a glue within the community or helping the community advance?
That's a good question. I think because I've always worked globally, I think I have, although I am British, I have a British passport, I think I automatically look outwards, look to other countries for our membership. And one of the key aims of the field engineer was to be truly global. And in fact, we hit members from over 100 countries quite quickly, and we've continued to grow. And I know some of our members have been quite fascinated because they've learnt world geography, which is not the intention of the field engineer, but they've realised that there are countries that they've met somebody within the field engineer and they've looked on a map to think, where is your country? Perhaps they'd not heard the name or just weren't sure where it was. So I think I do automatically look outwards rather than look inwards. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. And I appreciate what you said. This community is evolving. I
Yes.
wonder how you see its evolution and where would you like to see it going? If you had a magic wand, let's say you are the Harry Potter of our world and you want to see improvements within the community or maybe an evolution in a certain way, what would you like to see?
Well, I suppose the easy answer to that is that it grows more and perhaps grows more quickly. I think the other answer is that it keeps having impact on people's lives and situations, and perhaps does that even more. For example, there are a lot of young people worldwide who are unsure of a career, don't really know what to do, are thinking, what is the job market like? And I think field engineering is a massive area across different industries, which career. You don't necessarily have to have an extensive academic background. There are other skills which are equally important. So I think perhaps more and more being part of education of people who are not already thinking I'm a field engineer, becoming broader than that. And then I suppose just growth. I think to have more members of the community who are active, because of course with any community or life in general, you get out what you put in. And so it would be great if there were more members of the community who were active. We do. I mean, Charlie and Guy, you're two very good examples of very active community members. And we do have other active members, some visible, some not really visible, but who are active. If everybody were active, I think we would change quite dramatically.
Right. I guess some people are more comfortable writing than speaking, and they are contributing with articles. Some other people are maybe more verbal, and we are having them on our podcasts and YouTube talks. You bring up two important points that I would like maybe to elaborate on a little bit, and that is the choices of careers, and sometimes field engineers maybe feel stuck or feel they need some input before they can make a decision. And as you mentioned, they can reach out to one another within the community, or even reach out to a manager. We have established a coaching platform within the field engineering community. They can reach out to coaches. And the other important point that I was happy to hear, and I didn't think of it yet, is for those who are maybe thinking of a career in field engineering and they don't know much about it. They are welcome to reach out to the community and ask their questions. People within the community are very helpful, and they will be delighted to jump in and try to help, I'm sure.
Yes, no, I think you're right, and to be honest about the profession, because it's not right for everybody, but it is right for a lot of people.
True.
And I was talking to one of our members last week who's in the medical field in the US, and he was saying that there is so many people are choosing university courses in the States, then graduating after 4 years, not really sure what they want to do. His point was that there was soon going to be a shortage of biomedical engineers and technicians in the States because there's a big retirement bubble and you don't need a university degree for some of the jobs. And it's an alternative career course. And he said the issue is telling people about this.
Right.
Because a lot of our members do talk in schools or colleges, but it's still getting that message out there.
Very true. And we're seeing this the same here in Canada.
Okay.
In some areas, although maybe we talk about field engineers as an engineer by education, sometimes we don't hire engineers, we hire people with technical degrees. So the engineering is not necessarily a prerequisite. It's more about what the degree is, what the studies were, and the experience also, because the experience sometimes counts more than the degree itself. The degree gets you started and gets you a certain understanding, but practically the experience counts much more. So definitely it makes a difference, and we welcome any question from the community or even from outside the community. If this podcast reaches people from outside the field engineering community, they are welcome to jump in and ask us any questions they have.
Yeah, well, it's a good resource. Also, although the community is called the field engineer, we are very open to people who have technician in their job title. As you both know, there is a massive global difference on exactly the same job, and whether it's called an engineer, whether it's called a technician, we're open.
Right.
For us, the field engineer is for anybody who works in or with field engineering. It doesn't matter what your job title is.
Yeah,
definitely.
Just to pick up on that point, we represent an awful lot of industries and an awful lot of different jobs. I think we've mentioned on other podcasts that actually that spectrum of skills, a lot of it is around the soft skills, and a lot of the hard skills, a lot of the technical things are things that are industry specific and trained, and you don't necessarily need to have that technical background. I think that's interesting, for you as well, Caroline, with your intercultural success. It's those soft skills that are really key. That I find that quite interesting.
Okay, yes, I think you're right, and I know from a lot of our members that they highlight how important the soft skills are, because they say once you're on site, you've been sent, you're on site, there's a problem, and a lot of them have told me if you talk to the people who are working on the machinery or somewhere, and you say to them, you start to talk and you say, before the problem started, what did you hear? Did you smell anything? They ask lots of questions. They form a relationship, and then sometimes they find out that just before the catastrophe of the equipment stopping, somebody had dropped a bottle of water. And they say it's the relationship. These soft skills are so important because that may give you the answer.
Right.
Yeah.
And sometimes users are very reluctant to give information because it could be against them if they mention it.
Yes.
And as you said, that relationship with the field engineers makes a difference because they become more open to share.
And perhaps can say to you, if I tell you something, will you have to report it?
Right.
And the field engineer can say, well, tell me and I'll.
Right. I remember an incident where we had to replace an analyzer completely because the user, it was brand new, less than a year old. We had to replace it because the user made a mistake with the way they wanted to clean the instrument, and it ruined all the insides of the instrument. So these things happen, but there's always a solution. And, having asked you about your wishes for the community and maybe the impact that it is making, I'm curious to ask our viewers and listeners, what impact have the field engineering community made on you, our dear listeners and viewers, if you don't mind leaving a comment for us so we understand from the other side how we're making a difference for you. And talking about that, we also have groups of managers within the community, and we held a few roundtables so far. How do you see the contributions of the managers and the impact that they might be making on the community, Caroline?
I think the managers they are very pleased to be able to meet other managers from probably different industries, different countries, because all of a sudden they can relax. They're not in charge of anything. They're being themselves. That's the benefit for them, which I guess wasn't really your question, but I've started with that. I think the managers they're sharing their experience, because if I think of all the managers we have and the ones I know well, they've got hundreds of years of experience. And if we can start to feed that into our members who are not yet managers, who are beginning their professions, it's absolutely invaluable. Because you can learn a lot from books, you can learn a lot from online resources, but if a person that you know and have a relationship with and respect tells you, it has much more impact, particularly if they tell you it as a story based on their own experience. So any managers who would like to join, there are private managers groups, so that you can feel that you can discuss issues just with other managers. It's to some extent confidential.
Right. And, I'm hoping that the roundtables that we did and the interviews that we did with managers do show what we are about, what every manager is about, and maybe break the ice with field engineers and make them feel comfortable reaching out to one of those managers if they have a question. I know people who are maybe ambitious and would like to advance to management, and they can reach out to any manager for advice to help them build that momentum in their career and advance towards becoming a manager if that is one of their dreams.
No, that's a very good point, to have that resource. I would like to clarify that the roundtable discussions that you, Charlie and Guy, you are recording with managers discussing different topics, they're public, but the managers group has meetings organized within the field engineer, and they are private. so that we've got
Correct.
to two different things.
Yeah,
So anyone joining a managers meeting, you're not being secretly recorded.
true. Thank you
Yeah,
for pointing that out.
Yeah, those podcasts and those groups that we record, those are structured and very much an invitation type event. But you're right, Caroline. For those people who have questions, who are less interested in going on to a more public space like LinkedIn or any others, I think the managers group is a really good place to be amongst peers, but it can it can be very, very confidential. And a good space to learn and share experience.
True. Thank you, Charlie. Caroline, any specific advice that you have to the members of the field engineering community?
I think those who are already members input more, tell us things, come on to the community. To anyone listening to this, please come and join us. It's not difficult to join. And one important thing about the field engineer to emphasize is it's not political. We are global. We are from all countries, and we are not political. You can also be as private or as visible as you like. So if you want to join and not have too much interaction, you can do that.
Right.
It's a quieter place. It's also, I think, when I think of my work with the field engineer and my work with Intercultural Success, it's all very positive. It's in sharp contrast to a lot of the global news you see. There are lots of just very hardworking, kind, communicative, helpful people from all over the world, and it gives that impression as well that you're meeting lots of nice people.
True. And what I see also very often is how much the members are eager to share. Like when we do these interviews with managers and we do the roundtables, the comment that I hear after we have completed the video and the interviews is that they enjoyed it. They enjoyed having the platform to express themselves and to share their experiences. And even though we all come from different areas of the world, we see that we have many things in common. Field engineering is almost similar in all countries, and the work of the managers resemble, it's the same almost everywhere.
Yeah, that's a really good,
right.
point. Sorry, Caroline. I was going to say that, of course, there are regional, there are cultural differences, but a lot of the field problems that people face in the field are consistent across industries, are consistent for each of our members, and people will have solutions to some of their problems, and again, it's a great place to share and learn how people are dealing with the same kind of problems. Sorry, Caroline.
Yeah.
No, it's a good point you've made, Charlie.
If we want to talk about another area of the field engineering community, and that is the job site, the field engineer job site. If we want to maybe dig a bit deeper into that, how does the field engineer community support people who are job hunting, whether it is, posting jobs or any other aspect of support?
Okay. Well, as you say, Guy, some of our members are job hunting, so there are some who are actively job hunting, some who are just starting to keep an eye and think about the next role, and some who are not. For that reason, the Field Engineer Job Board is on a separate site. So the Field Engineer community and the Field Engineer Job Board are separate sites. So that the idea is, if you are a member of the Field Engineer, you will not be approached unless you want to be approached about jobs and opportunities. I think the support which is given is knowing other people who are within your same industry globally, because with networking, you never know who knows different people. While job hunting, it's great to be in touch with other people who are job hunting, because job hunting can be very lonely. And to have groups of people who are in the same situation is useful. We can help if you appear either in an interview like this or in an article in our blog. It raises your profile. It allows you to showcase your experience in a much more vivid way than a CV or a resume, or even an interview, because we're talking about your life, your stories, how you came to this, and it makes you seem a real person. Not that I'm suggesting people with CVs are fake people, but it does do that. So I think that's another way. I think as well that field engineer highlights how you can move from one industry to another industry, because it seems that with field engineering you can move from semiconductor to medical, because so much is transferable. And we've got a lot of examples of people doing that. And that's very useful, because when you're job hunting, you tend to job hunt for the industry you've been in. It's not always obvious that you can move.
Right. And sometimes field engineers are fearful to pivot to a different industry. While I remember many years ago, in the medical device field, I hired someone from a printing company, which has nothing to do with medical devices, right? But the attitude of the person, his willingness to learn, and his experience with technology made it possible for him. And today he is a team lead. He's doing very well in his career with medical devices. And I find this encouraging for anyone, not to eliminate the idea of pivoting from one industry to another. And I want to mention something also about the field engineering community, is that we have people from human resources also in a group within the community, for those who don't know. So the community is not restricted to field engineers, but also is open to people who work with field engineers, managers, and other.
Yeah, that's a good point, Guy, because it is. All people who work within supply chain or field marketing, we are open to all those groups of people.
Yeah. Caroline, we're coming to the end of the talk today. Any last words that you would like to mention to the community?
No last words really, other than that I enjoy it. I love the field engineer and all the field engineers members. It's a very, very positive experience, and I hope it continues and it continues to grow.
And it shows that you love it, Caroline. You put yourself fully into it. You are providing great support, and I know that you work long days for this community, and it is very much appreciated.
Thank you, Guy. That's very kind.
Charlie?
No, nothing else to add. Thank you, Guy. I think it's a pleasure, and you know, most of our members, their first contact is through Caroline, and you know, I think both Guy and I can attest to what a positive experience it is, given that we are here today and so involved as we are. So yeah, thank you for that, Caroline.
Actually, yes, you're two good test cases, because your first contact was with me, and you not only joined, you've stayed.
Yes, we stayed, and we want to actively participate, and we're committed to help advance this community.
Yes, stayed and flourished.
Definitely. Caroline, thank you so much for sharing your time and your experience with us today. It has been a real pleasure. And to our viewers and listeners, I want to ask you, what stood out to you in this talk today? What difference have you seen the community, or even Caroline, make for you within the community? Please share your comments and let us know your thoughts and any ideas that you might have. We'll see you later on future interviews and roundtable discussions. Thanks again for listening and for watching our talks.
Thank you, Guy. Thank you, Charlie.
Thanks, Guy. Thanks, Caroline.